Welcome back to the Relaxing Ghost channel here on YouTube. As always, your host with the most, Ghost. And today we have the Unforgiven pay-per-view collection. We got some VHS tapes and the DVDs here. So we are going back to 1998 all the way up until the last Unforgiven in 2008. So we got a 10-year period here of Unforgiven pay-per-views. Only 9 since there was no, 10. Or actually 11 since we do have one in 98 and 2008. So let's get into this with 1998's Unforgiven in your house. So I just like to point out that I do have the 2003 VHS and DVD here, just for the purpose of this video, to show you what the VHS spine actually looked like. I think that's actually pretty cool. I actually like that quite a bit. So VHS 1998. This is pretty much at the end of the In Your House days. Now they would do several more throughout the remainder of 98 and into 99. But now we are having pay-per-views with the In Your House tagline. This would feature the first ever Inferno match between The Undertaker and Kane. This is right after WrestleMania 14. So we didn't have, Backlash in this year. We would have a Judgment Day, but it wasn't until October. Give you a shot of the tape. Still 3 hours. By this point, all pay-per-views are about 3 hours. Interesting points, though. The copyrights say Titan Sports in the early parts of 98. It would later be changed to WWF and Photo Titan Sports. And this also featured the first ever evening gown match between Sable and Luna. Got the championship match, Austin versus Dude Love, with Mr. McMahon at ringside. Of course, this is right after Stone Cold Steve Austin winning at a WrestleMania 14. Triple H of DX versus Owen Hart with Chyna suspended above the ring in a cage. So this is the shark cage gimmick. Got a tag team title match, the New Age Outlaws versus LOD 2000. LOD 2000 would win a Battle Royal at WrestleMania 14 to win the #1 contendership. Also got a 6-man tag team war, and Double J with a country sensation, Sawyer Brown. So, pretty fun pay-per-view. Unforgiven 99. I love this cover. Anytime I can see the Big Eagle title on a tape or a DVD, it just looks absolutely beautiful. I do have this one in the can as well. Not sure when exactly I'll be doing the Attitude Era review for this, but it was a decent show. Of course, we had a 6-pack challenge for the vacant WWF Championship. Interesting to note as well, like the home video logos were blue throughout 99 and 2000. In 2001, they would just go with the black, regular scratch logo. This features one of the worst matches of all time, the Kennel from Hell Hardcore Championship match. Pretty much a cage and a Hell in a Cell, and in between the two cages are rabid Rottweilers. Very strange match. Got New Age Outlaws versus Edge and Christian. X-Pac versus Jericho. Got the Dudley Boys making their first pay-per-view appearance in WWF. We also got Ivory versus Luna. So sad. I wish Luna would have had a run with the title. She had a lot of opportunities. Sadly, they never put the belt on her. Jeff Jarrett versus Chyna. This is Chyna's first crack at the IC title. Of course, we know the month later she would become the first woman to hold the IC title. Not the best artwork on this, but pretty cool. You know, you got Kane and Big Show, Rock, Mankind, British Bulldog, and Triple H in that six-pack challenge. This is also during when the referees were on strike. So we had Stone Cold Steve Austin as the guest enforcer. And weirdly enough, Bulldog's actually wearing tights. Throughout this period, he was wearing jeans. Going into 2000. Pretty cool cover there with Undertaker, ABA. We got the return of Stone Cold Steve Austin. This was a year after his being run down and going through spinal surgery and whatnot. I love that spine, that logo. No, I don't think I showed you the tape of this one, but here we go. It's like they were trying to create a new logo for Unforgiven. Of course, we had several different logos throughout this time. They came up with this one. This is an alright logo. I'm not the biggest fan of it. But here's what I've noticed with this logo. Is I think this is Undertaker's symbol behind that Unforgiven logo. Not sure, but you could see it better on the tape. The Undertaker, you know, cross and whatever it is. So we got The Rock, Undertaker, Kane, and Benoit in a fatal four-way for the WWF title. Triple H versus Kurt Angle with Commissioner Foley as the referee. Steel cage match, Edge and Christian versus the Hardys. Eddie Guerrero as the IC champ versus Rikishi. Or I think, yeah, he was the IC champ here. Strap match, Jerry Lawler versus Taz. We got X-Pac versus Jericho again. So this is packed, you know, during the heat of the Attitude Era. So yeah, you could see on these ones the copyright World Wrestling Federation Entertainment. 2001, very good pay-per-view. The greatest of battles are fought from within. And like I mentioned, we have the home video logo change. From this point forward, they're all going to be like this. No more blue disc art. Never really liked that cover, though. Just kind of creepy. Paranoid Stone Cold. This was in Pittsburgh, PA, Kurt Angle's hometown. We got Austin versus Kurt Angle for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. A handicap match for the WCW title. The Rock versus Booker T and Shane McMahon. Edge versus Christian. RVD versus Chris Jericho. Undertaker and Kane versus Chronic. We also have a 4-team elimination match for the tag titles. U.S. title, Perry Saturn versus Raven. During the invasion, you know, a lot of crazy stuff going on. 2002, probably a more underrated pay-per-view. And I always never really liked this one, but it's worth a watch. Of course, this is during Lesnar's run as champion, undisputed champion, now WWE champion. This was in LA at the Staples Center. A lot of bonus stuff on here. Rey Mysterio versus Chavo. We got RVD and Benoit. 5 interviews. So we got a crazy 8-man tag team. Jericho versus Ric Flair. Edge versus Guerrero. Triple H versus RVD for the World Heavyweight title. This is where Ric Flair officially turns heel and joins up with Triple H. Trish Stratus versus Molly Holly. Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit. Really good match there. You know, not as good as the match they would have at the Rumble a few months later, but really good. And then Brock versus Taker, of course, going to a no contest. This would set up their Hell in a Cell match the month later. 2003, just for, you know, the purpose of the reviews, pulled out the tape. You know, really cool to see that, the nail through the U. Face Your Fear, Kane. Really creepy cover. This was, you know, right around the time Kane unmasked a few months prior. There's the spine. So going forward, they would use this plain logo. It's okay, but could be a lot better. And here's this. So I always liked this Unforgiven 2003 show. We got Gail Kim in the WWE. We got Steiner versus Test. 6-man tag team table match. JR and the King versus Coach and Al Snow. And the winners would broadcast Raw. Coach and Al Snow actually win. And then JR and the King would I think, win the next night or something. Because that didn't last long with Coach and Al Snow. We got a triple threat match for the IC title. Legend versus Legend. Killer Shawn Michaels versus Randy Orton. Shane McMahon versus Kane. Last Man Standing. And Triple H versus Goldberg. If Goldberg loses, he leaves WWE. Triple H could lose by DQ or countout. So, interesting to note there. 2004. Kane on the cover again. Insane Pain Kane. So, now we're into the brand split era. Unforgiven would be a Raw pay-per-view. Do have an insert with this. Nice. So I'm not a fan of how they kind of cram the chapters like that, but at least it's all written down. Loads of extras. Got our Sunday Night Heat. But I'll just refer to the back here. So Randy Orton became the youngest world champion the month prior at SummerSlam, and sadly his run ends quickly here at a month later. Trish Stratus versus Victoria. Chris Benoit and William Regal versus Batista and Flair. La Resistance versus Rhino and Tajiri. We got a ladder match for the vacant IC title. Jericho versus Christian. Shawn Michaels versus Kane. And Randy Orton versus Triple H. It's a fun show, not one of my favorites. I know a few people like that pay-per-view. 2005, another pretty good one. Got WWE Champion versus the Gold Medalist. And Kurt Angle was originally on SmackDown, and now he's came to Raw. And I like these spines where they go vertical. They did it for the next couple of years and just inverted the color. So that's really cool. Again, another Raw pay-per-view. See, they did it much better here, the way they laid it out. With 2004, they just kind of put the matches. They didn't list if it was for a championship or what kind of match it was. Show to the back. So here we got Ric Flair versus Carlito for the IC title. Trish Stratus and Ashley Mazzaro versus Tori Wilson and Victoria. Shelton Benjamin versus Kerwin White. Sadly, Kerwin White wouldn't last long due to Eddie Guerrero's passing. Steel Cage, Matt Hardy versus Edge. We got Hurricane and Rosie versus Cade and Murdoch. Love that team. Shawn Michaels versus Chris Masters. And John Cena versus Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. We also got a 8-man tag team match from Raw. 2006. Really fun pay-per-view. So I'm pretty sure this is the only pay-per-view to feature a Hell in a Cell and a TLC match. Got that Rated R spinner title. This was in Toronto, Canada. Got Jeff Hardy versus Johnny Nitro. Kane versus Umaga. We got a 2-on-3 Hell in a Cell match with DX versus the McMahons and the Big Show. We got Trish Stratus' last match pretty much for a very long time. Women's title versus Lita. Trish would win the women's title in her final match. And then a TLC match for the WWE title. Cena versus Edge. And I absolutely love this pay-per-view. Really good show. 2007. So we're at the end of the brand split era. This is featuring all three brands. No inserts with 2007, but that's a really nice disc. Great shot of The Undertaker. So we had a John Cena versus Randy Orton title match. And interesting to note here, this may be the first pay-per-view with someone on the spine. So if you're ever wondering who was the first one on the spine, John Cena. But with docs and comps, it's another person. Sadly, the Cena-Orton rivalry didn't last long due to Cena getting injured. Got a triple threat match for the world title. Khali, Mysterio, and Batista. Batista actually wins the world title here. Mark Henry versus The Undertaker. So, Undertaker returned here instead of SummerSlam, where they had Mysterio and Triple H returning. So, this was a decent pay-per-view. And 2008, pretty good show. They brought the inserts back in 2008, which I love. And this is actually a pretty good show. This is not known for the scramble matches they did. We had one for the ECW, WWE, and World Heavyweight titles. And during the show, we had an unsanctioned match. Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho. Really good match. Jericho actually wins the title in the main event, where CM Punk was the champion, and before they were Legacy, Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, Manu, Ted DiBiase, they all attack CM Punk. He's unable to compete, and Jericho is inserted into the main event and wins the world title after a war with Shawn Michaels. So Shawn Michaels and Jericho would feud over the world title. Sadly, I don't think that was the right way to take the title off CM Punk. So there we have the Unforgiven pay-per-view collection. Let me know some of your favorites, guys. Comment down below. As always, we'll talk to you later. Peace.